Okay. Yeah. Looks like most folks have joined us now, and I have started recording. Thank you very much for joining us today for our Innovation Grant webinar, specifically on the employment and training pilot projects. We're very excited to tell you more about these today and hear from some fabulous speakers. My name is Miranda Whalen, and I am the training coordinator here at ODES. If you have any technical issues, please feel free to reach out to me either via chat or through my email. I will have that up just in the case anyone reaches out. Some brief housekeeping. As I mentioned, we are recording this session and it will be posted to the ODES Innovations webpage in the future. All attendees are muted. ASL and CART captions are available. If you cannot hear me right now, use the audio settings to change your speaker output. We have enabled the Q&A. Please use this to submit questions to the speakers. We will have Q&A. There's a little change we missed. In the middle and at the end, we'll have 2 Q&A options today. Use the Show Captions button to show the CART captions or view the transcript. And during Q&A, you can use the Raise Hand button to let us know that you'd like to speak. So I'll turn it over now to our first speakers to introduce us to the webinar.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the second of 3 webinars featuring Maine's Innovation Grant pilots. This series provides us with an opportunity to meet the leaders from each of the 19 projects selected by the Office on Aging and Disability Services, or ODES. Maine is investing in innovation pilots in partnership with each of these featured agencies to learn together how these practices can improve services and positively shape the waiver services in the future. Today, we'll focus on 6 of the 19 projects that include a focus on employment and DSP training. You will see the vision of innovation and service of each project, as well as gain an idea of what we all hope to learn through each project's implementation. At the end, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions of each of the presenters. And we ask that as we go, you share your questions in the question box, as we'll have 2 opportunities during the presentations to address them. My name is Doug Keast, and I'm a project manager with the National Disability Institute. NDI has been engaged by the Maine Office on Aging and Disability Services to administer the projects and, with ODES, support each of the projects in meeting their objectives with the resources available to us. We have a team of subject matter experts and evaluators working with the implementation team and engaged partners with each project to go along with the administrative team handling the logistics of contracting and payment. All in all, between our team and the extended team with Maine ODES, there's a lot of investment and support and partnership with the agency representatives speaking today and in the next webinar in this series in their visions for service innovation. Before we start with the project presentations today, I'd like to first introduce you to a couple of folks that will help us with the context for the importance of these projects. Their combined experience in the field of disability services and systems change make them natural leaders for the Innovation Grant Initiative for the ODES and NDI teams working with the projects that are presenting today. Elizabeth Betsy Hopkins is the Associate Director of Developmental Disability and Brain Injury Services for the Office of Aging and Disability Services. And Dr. Rebecca Salon is a Senior Consultant from our team with the National Disability Institute. Next slide, please. The projects featured in today's webinar include Goodwill of Northern New England Project Work-Life Success, Independence Advocates of Maine, IAM Work-Connect, MaineHealth Dedicated Benefits Counseling, MaineHealth Dedicated HCBS Liaison, Skills Inc. Pre-Employment Services, Woodfords Family Services HCBS Training and Certificate Program. Next slide, please. To get us started, Betsy, would you like to discuss the importance of these innovation partnerships for the state of Maine?
Sure. Thanks, Doug, and welcome everybody. Really happy to have you here this afternoon on our second webinar that we're holding over the summer. I'm so impressed and happy to see so many people join us on what is one of the few sunny days here in Maine, it feels like. But I did want to talk a little bit about the importance of these projects, which we're really excited about for us here in Maine. Really, when we first started thinking about this, we were really excited about the idea of trying to bring forth innovative ideas to provide services that would help us think about different ways to provide services for individuals. And this came about in the course of many, many stakeholder meetings where we heard from people that they wanted different options. They wanted new ways to receive services. So these pilots really do help, will help us look at some innovative ways that services could be provided in the future here in Maine. We think that they will help increase waiver members' opportunities to access, live, and work in their communities. Most of the pilots, in one way or another, have that component to them, connected to them, and you'll certainly hear about that today as we hear about the employment and training ideas that people are going to discuss. Many of the proposed pilots, as we've mentioned, naturally are addressing some gaps in our current service system. When we first were looking at many of the applications for these pilots, we were so pleased to see the broad range of projects that were proposed. And now we're just in the process of getting them off the ground. And more specifically, we've talked about the fact that these innovative and effective services will be identified through project evaluation to possibly be integrated into our new lifespan waiver. I'm not going to go into any depth about the lifespan waiver. There's a lot of information about that on our website, but it is a new waiver that we're going to be rolling out in 2025. And as I mentioned, we're hoping that many of these projects, once we've done the evaluation piece on them, could be considered to be included in this new waiver. Next, I'd like us to move into, I'd like to introduce you to Rebecca Salon, as Doug mentioned, and also just make a note that we would not be able to do the work that we're doing here in Maine without our partnership with the National Disability Institute. They are helping us not only oversee the contracts and the direct work with all of these projects, but they're also providing really amazing subject matter experts from NDI to support all of the ongoing work that's going to happen over the course of this next year and a half. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Betsy. As you heard, today's projects all have a link to employment and training, and Maine has a long-standing history in promoting employment first, starting in 2010 with Maine's first employment first policy that affirmed that all individuals are presumed able to work. So Maine was an early adopter in this. Nationally, there's an employment first effort in virtually every state. More than 40 states have adopted legislation and/or have an official state policy stating that employment in the community is the first and preferred service option for people with disabilities, which is basically what employment first means. Maine passed its first employment first legislation 10 years ago in 2013. And to Maine's credit, this legislation was cross-disability, unlike many other states that only focused or primarily focused on people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. More recently, last year, the Employment First Maine Act was enacted in 2022, which defines customized employment as one of the creative, proven practices to help people who face multiple barriers to employment in being successfully employed. It also affirms that employment is the first and preferred service option offered by state agencies prior to people being offered other types of supports and services. And it promotes competitive integrated employment. And what you see on this slide is the definition of competitive integrated employment as it's stated in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So in 2014, this was the first time that CIE, or competitive integrated employment, was defined nationally. And I think you all know the definition, but it affirms that people are compensated in the same ways that other people who do the same job are compensated, receive the same benefits, get to interact with people who don't have disabilities, and have equal opportunities for advancement. And the fact that this is in WIOA was very exciting to many of us when it first was there. Next slide, please. So the projects that you'll hear about today all relate to supporting people in getting and keeping competitive integrated jobs in some way. The providers that you'll hear from identified barriers or gaps, as Betsy said, that they know people with disabilities face in attaining or retaining employment, and they design projects to address those barriers. And you won't be surprised at any of the barriers that are on this list. So the projects that you'll hear about focus on transportation, which certainly is a hurdle that many people face, the concern over how employment will affect my benefits, pre-employment transition services and other kinds of vocational supports, the ways that enabling and assistive technology can support people in attaining and retaining employment, and ways to build the capacity of the direct support workforce so that they too can support employment and community integration and the other things that the HCBS waiver and the settings rule aspires to support. So you'll hear about this from the different providers presenting today. Next slide. So I just want to leave you with some resources as you pursue this some more, because of the importance of employment supports for people with disabilities in Maine. We wanted you to be able to link to any of these. And when you get the slides, these are all hyperlinks. They also are linked to the Lead Center website, which is leadcenter.org, if you don't want to wait until when the slides are posted. But the first one is a roadmap to inclusive career pathways. And if you click on this link, you'll find a user-friendly, curated list of strategies to promote inclusive career paths for people with disabilities. So there's practices and resources in things like leveraging partnerships and collaboration, engaging businesses, working with youth, designing career-based learning, advancing equal opportunity compliance and inclusion. So there's a small list of resources that were particularly curated for that purpose. There also are resources on pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeship programs, which again are best practices that can be made inclusive for people with disabilities, and right now is a fairly underutilized resource, but available in every community. There's information on a direct support professional think tank that brought together multiple public and private partners to come up with ideas about supporting the direct support workforce. And the last one is a direct support professional academy, which is an innovative program that's been going on for several years in Washington, D.C., to train people with disabilities to become direct support professionals, which both addresses the direct support professional shortage that the entire nation is facing and creates a career path for people with disabilities. And I will also put in the chat a link to NEON. So the Office of Disability Employment Policy promotes an initiative called NEON, which stands for the National Expansion of Employment Opportunities Network. And they also have a lot of wonderful resources on employment first. So I'm happy to turn this back to Doug so we can hear directly from these innovative projects. Thank you, Betsy, and take it away, Doug.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. And you also, Betsy, both of you for the background on the spirit of the times with the local and national levels related to employment and professional training, and how what we're going to learn through these projects will contribute to all of our learning. Next slide, please. Now it is with great pleasure that I introduce our first speakers, Emma Mehuren, the Senior Program Manager of Goodwill of Northern New England, and Dayna Miller, the HCBS Program Manager with Goodwill's initiative, Project Work-Life Success. Emma and Dayna, welcome to this platform, and thank you for agreeing to join us today.
Hello, thank you, Doug. Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Mehuren, and I am a Senior Program Manager with Goodwill Northern New England. I currently oversee 2 programs at Goodwill, one of which is our HCBS Innovations Grant Program, and the other is our Bootcamp program. I started with Goodwill around 3 years ago as a job coach and have somehow managed to be where I am today. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you and would like to welcome Dayna Miller, who is our HCBS Program Manager. So thank you for having us today. Next slide, please. All right. I'd like to start by providing you all with a brief project overview. The Project Work-Life Success is the title of our HCBS Innovations Grant. The goal of our program is to help agencies provide a unique, individualized approach to community integration. Our program uses a variety of different learning avenues to encourage well-rounded knowledge about opportunities and pathways for our clients. Our program is centered around our clients gaining knowledge about how to pursue their interests. We're hoping to achieve that goal through community-based learning, classroom-style learning, individualized meetings, a curriculum, and many more. Currently, we have 3 tracks within our program that are outlined on the slides today. They all kind of guide the learning objectives for each of our clients and within our program. The first track is community. This is for clients looking to get integrated into the community, but that are not looking to gain employment currently. Next, we have the discovery track for clients that are seeking community integration, but are interested in learning more about work and volunteer opportunities. And third, we have the work readiness that is geared towards individuals seeking community integration through employment. Our tracks are fluid and are meant to change as the clients navigate their goals for community integration. We are working with AmeriCorps as well to help provide members that are able to provide these services to our clients with agencies across the state. Our program is also hoping to achieve long-term success through the use of embedded agency staff. This means that we have built a training program to teach agency staff our program, curriculum, and how to navigate employment with ease. We're hopeful that by including these agency staff in our program, the clients that we reach will have a support system to lean on when our grant ends. Next slide, please. The problems that we're trying to address with our grant program is having individualized community integration services. We recognize that there are still a lot of agencies throughout the state that are taking groups of individuals out to participate in the same activity at the same time. We're here to encourage individualism. We focus on individuals' interests and how we can help them explore opportunities from there. The second problem that we're trying to address is employment first. We're here to encourage participants and staff to think creatively about gaining employment and understanding employment. We have many resources built into our program to help people find their ways to meaningful employment. Next slide, please.
So some of the innovative strategies we're looking to work into our program is like our Goodwill Bootcamp model that Emma spoke about a little bit ago. This is a curriculum geared towards soft skills like communication and stress management, work readiness skills like building a resume or interview preparation. Rather than making this a classroom-based curriculum, we have curated a menu out of our curriculum to allow for more innovative client individualization, including our 3 tracks, as Emma discussed, and allow clients to pick different lessons or community-based options to suit the goals that we'll be creating with our staff. We've also extended our services to invite agency staff to help implement our program, and I will be training and supporting agency staff in implementing our practices and services into their daily programs in agencies. With these staff members, we're providing the ACRE certification to help extend client growth and build job supports after we're done providing the services to these agencies. Next slide, please.
What we're hoping to learn from our program is how to provide clients and agency staff with effective tools for navigating individualized community integration. We are able to test out multiple methods of learning within our grant program. And while doing this, we would also like to identify the challenges and needs of the population that we're serving. As mentioned before, transportation and other things, we know are challenges, but we're here to figure out how to navigate those challenges in a more effective way. We believe that it's beneficial to have more information about the challenges that our clients are facing in order to create long-lasting solutions. Next slide, please.
The way we gather participants is through agency involvement, including our embedded staff from within the agencies. As well, we have our AmeriCorps volunteers who will be supporting clients and implementing our program within the day programs. These two types of staff members will meet participants in their agencies and day programs and pitch the program to the clients, explaining the opportunities we can provide within our 3 program opportunities and help them choose from within the menu options to promote client choice, community integration, and individualization. Please feel free to reach out to Emma or myself regarding the information covered in this presentation. If you have any questions, we would be eager to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and please always feel free to reach out to either Dayna or I. We're happy to take questions. Back to you, Doug. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Emma and Dayna, for a wonderful overview of your work to enhance service response for individuals seeking to develop careers. Your efforts to develop sustainable networks supporting Mainers with disabilities will provide a great learning opportunity for all of us. Next slide, please. Okay, it is poll time. We'd like to get a sense from all of the folks attending today's webinar. What is the #1 employment challenge for people with disabilities in Maine? Options for this poll are employer expectations, low personal expectations by people with disabilities, low expectations by family, support system expertise and capacity, lack of work experience and opportunity at an early age, transportation, DSP shortage, or other. Miranda, can you guide us through responding to this poll?
Absolutely. I have just launched the poll here in the Zoom window, so it should be a pop-up for you if you're here in the web browser. Can't guarantee how it will look if you're on your phone. And I'm going to just leave this open probably about 45 seconds. Looks like folks are responding very quickly.
Excellent.
We have about 50% participation so far. So thank you everyone for clicking those buttons. When I close the poll, I will share the results so that everyone can see what the highest rated challenges are. So about 5 more seconds and I'll close down this poll. So if you haven't had a chance to respond, I invite you to do so. All right, this is great. So 74% participation. So you should be seeing the results of the poll here on your screen now. Doug, would you like to review?
Well, that's excellent. I mean, transportation certainly stands out among this group as the #1, but there's strong responses in all of the other areas: the DSP shortage, the support system expertise and capacity, low expectations. As I looked at this list initially, I was kind of thinking it's kind of an all of the above type of thing, as all of these things have an impact. But thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your thoughts on this very important question. And thank you, Miranda, for helping us with this poll. Clearly, this feedback is relevant to each of today's presenters and relevant to their visions for innovation. Next slide, please. And now it is with great pleasure that I introduce our next speaker, Catherine Thibodeau, the Executive Director of Independence Advocates of Maine, or IAM. IAM has actually been awarded 3 innovation projects, one of which Catherine will be speaking about today, the Work-Connect project. Catherine has served as the director of IAM for the past 23 years. She's active with the state and federal provider associations, currently serving as the chair of MACSP's Professional Development Committee, co-chair on Maine's Legislative Essential Support Worker Advisory Committee, and as a consultant to ANCOR for the ICF-IID sector. Catherine, again, welcome to this platform and thank you for agreeing to join us today.
Thanks, Doug. I'm happy to be here. Why don't we get right into it? We can go ahead to the next slide. So at IAM, we have, like Doug said, we've been awarded 3 innovation projects, and this project is focusing on assisting members to achieve their employment and pre-employment community goals. And it's using an innovative software application to sort of reimagine how these services and supports are accessed. Through our project, we are going to develop and pilot and report on a framework to expand member access to pre-employment and employment opportunities through remote supports. Next slide. So, when looking at what is the problem that we are hoping to address, 81% of all working age Mainers are employed, and 27% of all working age Mainers with cognitive disabilities are employed. So we know that despite Maine's, really proactive approaches to employment first initiatives, and program opportunities, there's still a lag in people with intellectual and developmental disabilities being employed. And clients are looking for Maine Care members are looking for access to services and looking for employment opportunities. Rural parts of our state are really struggling from a lack of provider capacity to be supporting people. And in Maine, remote supports and assistive technology is focused on home support services in our sections 21 and 29 waivers. And just sort of in general, we are culturally inclined in our state to add a person, sort of hands-on person to help somebody meet their goals and outcomes. And so this project would involve a culture shift as long as, in addition to a shift in how our waivers offer services. Next slide. So our project has sort of 3 components to it. The first one is the implementation of the software, and we've selected to use a software called Life Sherpa. And this is a platform that really allows one's supports to be truly mobile. It goes where the member goes across settings and service modalities. It's accessed via a mobile app on one's data-connected smartphone or tablet. It provides a centralized resource where an individual's tasks, checklists, reminders, self-help resources can all be in one centralized and customized location. This software platform also has the ability for Maine Care members to access on-demand staff, either via chat or a video function, and has the capabilities to tie into an existing remote support system. That technology is with Simply Home, which is another vendor. And it has a lot of abilities to track real-time status, engagement, performance metrics. It's a pretty customizable, extremely customizable platform, and does a lot of really diverse types of assistance for people. And so next slide. So after we implement that software with clients of IAM and work with people getting up and using that, we're going to move into the pilot phase of our project. And this is piloting, looking at how Maine is to provide, has services set up for home remote supports and applying that into employment and pre-employment setting. So, you know, in theory, what it would look like is that somebody would be able to be at their work site. They would have a DSP that's remote from them, and that DSP can monitor their activity and see how they're doing at that work site, but also be able to provide real-time interventions and supports and services to the individual while they're at their work site. So that it kind of mirrors what is available currently as a home support. This is truly innovative. It is part of our project is to try to identify other places throughout our country that are ahead of Maine in this area, and so we're doing some research and reaching out and learning from other people as we go along. And then the next phase is piloting the project. So working with individuals to be able to be out in the community, trialing the use of the remote supports as they're going about either their pre-employment activities, their volunteerism, their community activities, or while at work. And then finally, we're going to take all of this information and put it together in a framework and sustainability plan, hopefully to be able to have this included in current or future waivers that the state of Maine has. Next slide. And what do we hope to learn? So we're hoping that we'll be able to demonstrate that it is member, Maine care, and provider prudent to add remote support services to pre-employment employment services. We want to discover new ways that individuals can be supported and be able to achieve their employment and community goals. We want to be able to provide a product at the end of the day for DHHS to be able to utilize and add services to people in HCBS waivers. And we want to have the opportunity to provide educational and awareness about the ways that remote supports and assistive technology can be used in community and work settings. Next slide. I know I'm just to wrap up. Nora Eskin is our lead on this project, and people are interested in learning more and or want to otherwise stay connected on this project, please reach out to Nora, and she'd be more than happy to add you to our mailing list and provide you with any information you'd like.
Okay. Well, thank you, Catherine, for a wonderful overview of this project to explore learning and employment service delivery with enhanced technology. Next slide, please. And to follow Catherine, we're pleased to welcome Jennifer Kimball, the Director of MaineHealth's Department of Vocational Services, and Stephanie DeRocher, the Program Manager for MaineHealth's Benefits Counseling Services. MaineHealth's focus in this project is in the support to individuals in the understanding and management of their Social Security disability benefits as they pursue career activity. Jennifer has worked in the field of supported employment since 1996, first as a clubhouse worker, then an education employment specialist, job developer, program coordinator, and manager. She is a certified community partner work incentives coordinator and is the current chair of the Maine State Workforce Board's Commission on Disability and Employment. Stephanie joined the Department of Vocational Services as a Community Work Incentives Coordinator, or CWIC, in 2007, completing the Social Security Administration's required certification and developing a strong knowledge of work-related Maine care rules and policy for people with disabilities. She now leads Social Security's Northern New England Work Incentives Planning and Assistance, or WIPA, project. Jennifer and Stephanie, I will now place the proverbial microphone into your capable hands.
Thank you, Doug. I am Jen Kimball. I'm the Director of Vocational Services at Maine Medical Center. Have been with the department for about 20 years and remember back to the time where when a client asked me what would happen to their benefits when they went to work, I was unprepared to answer that question. Recognizing that that was a very important question, of course, Social Security ultimately developed a program called Benefits Counseling to assist individuals who receive Social Security disability to understand what would happen. So there are vendors all over the country that are providing this service, but in Maine, we are the sole provider of this service with a contract with Social Security. and with strong support from the state of Maine Department of Labor and Health and Human Services. Next slide, please. So for this project, we really recognize how important it is for everybody that is supporting individuals receiving HCBS services to be confident and understand how work will and will not affect these benefits for people to make progress toward employment. This project proposes to expand the capacity of this team by hiring 2 additional CWICs that would be dedicated specifically to this population, individuals who are using Section 21 and 29 services. This is very unique. Right now, it is a service that is available on demand only for people who have stated they want to work, and there is not a large pool of CWICs available to cover everybody and do a lot of outreach. So this is a very special thing we're super excited about, to be able to have a more focused intervention in these agencies that are providing HCBS services to be able to help the agency in addition to the individuals who are being served. I'll hand it off to Stephanie.
Thanks, Jen. Next slide. So some of the problems we're trying to address, number one, many people with disabilities understandably fear losing their benefits if they get a job. And in our work, the number one concern that we hear is people being fearful of losing their health insurance, and particularly their waiver. And what we find every day is many people with disability benefits, as well as service providers, are not aware that there's a lot of safety nets that allow someone to go to work and keep their benefits. And there's a lot of misinformation in the community about how much someone can and can't work. And so Maine's Benefits Counseling Services Program currently has 6 counselors that cover the entire state. And each year we serve about 1,000 Social Security beneficiaries a year who have questions about how does work impact their benefits. We're very excited that with this grant, we'll be expanding to 8 counselors or CWICs. And as Jen stated, we're the only vendor in the state providing benefits counseling services. And these community work incentives coordinators are really the only trained professionals who understand exactly how working impacts all of a person's public benefits. Anyone that's a CWIC has gone through special training with the Social Security Administration and our National Technical Assistance program, and has to maintain ongoing credentials each and every year in order to stay current on what the federal and state benefit rules are in order to accurately advise people. Next slide, please. So what we're proposing with our innovation strategies are beyond hiring 2 additional CWICs for our team, we're looking to recruit up to 6 HCBS agencies who are serving Section 21 and 29 consumers. We're looking to recruit 6 agencies that want to have one of our 2 dedicated CWICs for their agency. Once we recruit those agencies, we'll be delivering presentations to each of the selected agencies. And once their staff are aware of the grant and the referral process, we will be able to start accepting referrals from consumers at those agencies. And throughout the grant, our hope is to provide benefits counseling and support to at least 200 consumers from the recruited agencies. And additionally, we're going to be providing some training as well as ongoing technical assistance to the direct support staff who are from the selected agencies. We have a training called Work and Benefits Navigator training that allows providers to learn the details of exactly what happens to someone's benefits when they go to work. And the agencies that are selected will get that training. Next slide. We really hope to learn if having this dedicated CWIC model has different outcomes from our traditional benefits counseling. So do we see improved participation in community employment? Do we see an increase in referrals and utilization of benefits counseling? Do we see an overall increase in awareness of the many benefits and work incentives that are available? And we hope by the time the grant is complete that we'll be able to make recommendations for how to sustain this, this benefits counseling model, starting with hopefully the proposed lifespan waiver. Next slide. If you're on this webinar today and are interested in being one of those dedicated, being one of those agencies that receives a dedicated CWIC, we're offering informational sessions this month. The dates and times are listed on the screen and will be available on the DHHS website after the webinar. Encourage you to register for one of those sessions and come learn more about how your agency could be selected to receive one of the dedicated CWICs. And any other questions, folks can contact me. Thank you so much. Back to you, Doug.
Thank you, Jennifer and Stephanie. We look forward to what we'll learn in the implementation of your service vision. And next slide, please. And it is now time for another break in the presentations to check in on questions that may be coming in from our webinar participants. And please, if you've got a question, please put it in question and answer box. And Betsy, are we seeing any questions yet?
I don't see any questions, Doug. We had one question clarifying what ACRE certification stood for and was answered. That means the Association of Community Rehabilitation Educators. It's a training for professionals working in employment, the field of employment. But that's the only question I see.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you for the question on ACRE. We'll come back to the remaining questions at the end of today's presentation. So please don't hesitate if anything occurs to you that's related to the subject of employment and HCBS services and DSP training. Please take a minute to put it in that Q&A box, and we will get to you at the end of the session. So next slide, please. And we're very pleased to be back with MaineHealth on the second of their 2 innovation projects. In addition to Jennifer Kimball on this one, discussing MaineHealth's innovation with the dedicated HCBS employment liaison. As Jennifer's returning to the speaker's rostrum, we'll also have Lillian Dowdy, MaineHealth's Department of Vocational Services Operations Manager. Lillian has been supporting adults with disabilities in a variety of nonprofit organizations, acute care hospitals, and rehabilitation facilities from Boston to Maine since 1982, and has been instrumental in the development of new statewide programs and resources for Maine people with Parkinson's disease, chronic disease, self-management, and in career development and employment services for Maine people with disabilities. Jennifer and Lillian, we're excited to hear more about this innovation and give you the floor.
Thank you, Doug. Happy to be back and talk about our second project, which is specifically called HCBS Liaison. The hope with this project is to build on some of the work that we are currently doing as a community rehabilitation provider in Cumberland and York counties specifically. So this is a consultative role to work collaboratively with HCBS agencies to provide consultation and support around advancing employment for individuals served. Look at the next slide, please. The goal is to hire a couple of individuals, one as an HCBS liaison specifically, to work collaboratively with the agencies and think about what the systemic barriers may be to impede progress around adding or expanding work support or career planning services. As a provider ourselves of work support and career planning, we are going to join in this process with other providers in our region by hiring a career planner who will also be expanding our services so we can learn together and identify how best to support agencies to advance employment services within their agency. For more details, I'll hand it over now to Lillian.
Thank you, Jen. Next slide, please. Well, earlier in this webinar, Rebecca Salon gave us a nice overview of Employment First. I'm pretty sure everyone here is familiar with, but to give a timeline, so started in 2010 to 2013 in Maine, and then it was enacted in 2022. Right around that time, a great number of home and community-based services were found to be non-compliant, and part by the Department of Health and Human Services. So part of their work to become employment compliant was to collaborate and work with their local community rehabilitation provider. Now, when this plan was enacted for compliance, at the time, York and Cumberland County had quite a number of community rehab providers that were providing vocational services through Department of Labor's Bureau of Rehabilitation Counseling. So, so there were a number of community providers. By the time this came to fruition in 2022, the Department of Labor decided to change their model and back in 2018 and choose one provider per Maine's region. So it was a competitive RFP process, which is happening again. And at that time, we were awarded to be the community rehab provider in York and Cumberland counties. So as this all came together, HCBS agencies that were found non-compliant were mandated actually to have a memorandum of understanding with their local VR community provider. And at that time, it was just us in this region. So next slide, please. So of course, we were happy to help with the system, but what we could do was really limited in that we invited agencies to an opportunity to work with us, invited them to our benefits counseling work and transition webinars. We just offer resources, and we felt that the agencies really needed a lot more than that. Although it was helpful, it really each agency had their own needs. So next slide, please. So as Jen said earlier, our goal is to build capacity within our region, including our own department as well. So our strategies are to collaborate with any HCBS agency in York and Cumberland County to ensure that people are receiving services to choose competitive integrative employment. We want to provide an opportunity for agency staff to get trained and advance their awareness. And as I said, it's different for every agency. Understanding the Social Security disability work incentives, offer training with benefits counseling, professional development opportunities, such as anything, ACRE training for staff to expand their skills related to Employment First. And also to share resources and techniques to really be able to work closer with agencies and help to build capacity. Next slide, please. What we hope to learn is to increase access for waiver members around employment, to make available staff trainings and understanding of employment services for the waiver members and participants they serve. As I said, increase our own internal capacity with just the startup of career planning, as it will sustain itself. This is just a short piece of this innovation grant. And to assist in continuity in services across systems. So in being the only community rehab provider that started in 2019 as a sole provider, as we all went through the pandemic, HCBS agencies had to switch their priorities, and not to mention the workforce shortages that each agency, so they had to really pull in the reins, and a lot of employment that agencies may have done in the past were put on the back burner. In being that, we directly, in being the community rehab provider, we directly faced challenges because we were working with individuals on employment. And then if those participants that needed, that needed long-term supports, there was little to none agencies that were picking them up. So we really didn't have any agencies to refer these clients to, so we had to hold on to them. So next slide, please. How we can participate: we invite additional agencies in serving members in York and Cumberland County to join and partner with us. We hope to partner with 8 agencies. We have 7 so far and at least 8, so we can partner with more. Identify or request an agency training for your staff or participants around topics relating to supportive employment, and with efforts to support successful transfers and offer client choice, and individuals who need the service to have options to receive supported employment services. So thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jennifer and Lillian. Lillian, if folks want to follow up about participation, would they contact you directly?
They can contact either Jen or myself, but I'm leading this piece of the initiative, so please reach out to me directly. That would be great.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing the focus of this project on building the responsiveness of employment service support systems. Next slide, please. To share the vision of Skills Incorporated's pre-employment service project today, we're very excited to introduce Kristen Overton, Skills Incorporated's Executive Director. Kristen, thank you for joining us today, and I will pass the baton off to you. Kristen, are you still here?
Doug, it appears that we lost Kristen. She just dropped off the panelist list.
Well, I'll tell you what. Oh,
she is signing back in.
Oh,
so keep riffing, Doug. Keep riffing.
Well, I'm glad we didn't have to do the sing-along.
I'm on my phone.
Kristen, I hear you.
So I apologize. I'm now on my phone, so glad you can hear me. And I am thrilled to be here and to present.
Okay.
Employment pilot will assist people with disabilities with all the job question, which is, do you want a job? Being ready for a job is so much more than career planning, placement, and support on the job. There's many soft skills and cultural norms that are unique to the employment world. Our project assists individuals in discovering their employment goals and achieving the necessary skills in order to reach those goals. Through delivery of a group service that's Job Club and pre-employment boot camp, the Goodwill model, which can either be group or one, depending on the needs of the individual. We will provide educational opportunities utilizing a variety of resources depending on the individual's learning style, as well as where they currently are at in relation to skills acquisition. The curriculums will help individuals identify if they have a desire to work or would prefer other methods of community integration. And if they do desire to work, then the pre-employment specialist assists them to gain the skills that are to have them be ready for engagement with vocational rehab services. The pilot also has a component of community education and community resource mapping, engaging local businesses and job shadows in employment or volunteering opportunities. We'll bring employers and people seeking entry-level positions together in 2 job fairs that will be held in early fall of 2024. Next slide, please. Employers, sorry, it's very small on my phone. Employers may not think people with intellectual developmental disabilities, autism, traumatic brain injury, or other related conditions as potential candidates in the candidate pool. They may not know how to seek out individuals with disabilities when they are not applying for a job that's open, or they may not be aware of the abilities of this critical labor pool. There is a staffing crisis in all industries. There's insufficient workers available, especially for direct service and frontline positions. People with intellectual developmental disabilities and autism, traumatic brain injury, and other related conditions want to experience the same things that all adults do, including having a job and being financially independent. Still, society often excludes or dissuades this population from believing they're employable. There's a great inequity in the messages that people with IDD, TBI, or ORC are given from birth about their value and ability to contribute to the labor force. While there are services available to help this underrepresented population gain employment, these services do not factor in the deficit of confidence and employment opportunity awareness that people with those related disabilities sometimes experience. Our pilot spends time encouraging the population that we'll be working with that they are capable, they have unique skills and talents needed in the workforce, and to help show them what these skills are individually. Next slide. So above on this slide are the objectives of our pilot. The way really that we plan to meet these objectives are through 3 services. One is Job Club. Job Club is an 8-week program developed by OATS based on NDI's guided group discovery curriculum. Job Club focuses on some discovery activities, community mapping, relationship mapping, and developing soft skills. At the end of the 8 weeks, the people supported will have the opportunity to participate in a mock interview. The curriculum consists of PowerPoint slides, videos, and fun discovery games. It can be presented to 1 or 2 people or in a larger group. Individuals may continue on to pre-employment boot camp services or to the state-funded waiver services such as career planning, or on to voc rehab support services. They may choose not to pursue support service. The next is the pre-employment boot camp. This is a 22-week curriculum provided to skills by the Goodwill Northern New England. It is more in-depth than Job Club, covering topics such as goal setting, time management, self-advocacy, stress and anger management, digital literacy, exploring careers, preparing a resume, and mock interviews. We've all just heard a great deal about it earlier. The program also looks at what people can expect on their first day of work, what they can do to retain their job. It can be customized to each person's needs and interests, or can be provided in a group for the entire 22 sessions. One person might only need 3 or 4 specific lessons, while another might need them all. And then the third service is Voc Rehab Support. During the vocational rehab process, the pre-employment specialist and it serves as a liaison to ensure good, effective communication to help ensure success. This service provides one-on-one support to the individual to practice and utilize the skills necessary to work successfully with the Voc Rehab coordinator and to achieve placement, at which time these services would end and the contracted employment services provider would complete their DOL-funded placement and initial support services. Next slide, please. Next slide, there we are, okay. And so what we hope to learn, on that slide is the outcomes of the pilot. I think that yes, there we are, okay. So these are the outcomes of the pilot. And so as part of the evaluation process, skills will evaluate the different paths to success. This will include whether an individual is more likely to achieve success with Voc Rehab placement if they have had MaineCare funded services of career planning and or a combination of the pre-employment services, job club, and or boot camp, the 4 VR support services, pre-employment services and career planning. So again, career planning is not performed as part of the grant. And whether they have VR support or just career planning individually. So really kind of looking at the success factors depending on the additional supports that are provided. Last slide. And how to participate, join our mailing list at www.skillsinc.net. Refer waiver members after September 1st. We will have these services up and available at that time. Invite us to present to the members you support. If you support any members, and collaborate as a business owner, resource for greater opportunity to engage further people with intellectual, developmental, or related disabilities. And I have the contact information here of our Community Integration Services Manager, Patrick Bagley. Thank you very much for having me, and I apologize for the technical difficulties on my end.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen, and we're so glad you came back. We really enjoyed your wonderful overview and look forward to hearing more about your progress in the next year and a half. Next slide, please. And it's poll time again. This one to determine what you all see as the most important consideration for direct service professional training. Options here include building professional competency, establishing consistency across the field and service, increasing system response to people with disabilities, building a foundation for career pathways for professionals, attracting new talent to the field, or other. And once again, Miranda will help us in completing this poll.
So the poll should have launched right on your screen, and similar to the last time, you should have little check boxes that you can select to respond to the poll. In this case, even though it says what is the most important, I made this multiple choice because you might say several of these I think are equally important. So please feel free to bring on chaos like I did. So we have about 50% participation already. So we'll leave this open for about 10 more seconds.
Yeah, like the other question, I would have a hard time just picking one of these.
And I'd be interested for the folks that are selecting other, either on this poll or the last, if you want to put it in the Q&A or put something in an email, you know, what your thoughts are. I'd be very interested. All right,
Great.
so I'm ending that poll and sharing the results. So here we go. You should be seeing the results on your screen now.
Excellent. Yeah, strong responses on everything. The 45% establishing consistency across the field and services. A strong focus on alignment and consistency in customer service. And then building professional competency, closely followed by attracting new talent to the field. And then it looks like increasing systems response to people with disabilities and building that foundation for career pathways. Excellent feedback. Appreciate it so much. And thank you, Miranda, and all of you who shared your views on this. It's amazing how a shared focus on learning can do all of these things. Next slide, please. And it is our great pleasure now to introduce Heather Marsters, the HCBS training manager from Woodfords Family Services, who will share with us her project's activity to address the state's professional capacity through the Woodfords Family Services HCBS training and certificate program. Heather has previously worked as both a DSP and a BHP in a variety of home and community-based settings, and has worked in training and professional development roles for the past 10 years. Heather, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to be able to talk about our project. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So our project plan includes training and educational initiatives for Maine's current and future direct care workers, with the goal of helping the people we serve receive high quality supports that are strength-based, person-centered, and support choice, inclusion, and independence. For our project, we will be creating the HCBS training and certificate program for HCBS direct service providers statewide. And the training program will include 10 online modules covering a variety of topics. We'll be addressing facilitating opportunities for community interaction, facilitating employment first, working with individuals on personal budgeting, understanding valued social roles and age-appropriate activities, ensuring respectful interactions during challenging situations, understanding supported decision-making, reportable events, ensuring dignity while dining, understanding person-centered planning, and teaching individuals with disabilities about informed choice. The 10 online modules will be made up of self-paced mini lessons and will be uploaded into a learning management system. In addition, learners will also be required to attend a live day, either in person or virtually, and that will be part of their certification. In addition to this, we will be creating an HCBS master training program to be delivered to provider representatives throughout the state so that agencies will be able to provide this training to their own staff. The second part of our project is the Social Services Career Prep Program. And for this, we'll be working with the Maine Department of Education to obtain Career and Technical Education, or CTE, designation. And the curriculum will include the HCBS training that we're creating, in addition to the College of Direct Support, behavioral health professional, and other social services trainings to help recruit and prepare future direct care workers. We will be connecting with high school CTE programs throughout the state to form partnerships. And Woodfords has already successfully run a social services program at Westbrook Regional Vocational Center. So we will be including them, as well as targeting additional schools. The social services curriculum will also include a master training to be delivered to identified CTE instructors so that schools will be able to hire their own instructors to teach this program. Next slide, please. So the HCBS training will be designed to be engaging, interactive, practical, and accessible in order to help direct care workers provide the best possible services, and also to help clarify questions around the HCBS rule. We're also hoping to ensure that the training is consistent across agencies statewide. So I saw that was the top response in that poll we just looked at. So our goal with creating this training is that the training will be consistent statewide. And additionally, we know that staffing shortages create a challenge to service delivery, and the Social Services Career Prep Program will be designed to help address some of these challenges and hopefully increase interest in direct care work opportunities. Next slide, please. Our team at Woodfords has a lot of experience in creating trainings for direct care staff, and we will continue to use what we have learned about adult learning to make this training effective and accessible. We know that adult learners tend to be self-directed, practical, and motivated to learn things that are applicable and relevant. In order to make this training effective and accessible for people of all learning styles and abilities, our online modules will have a mix of audio and visual components. We'll have closed captioning available, and we'll also have quite a bit of interactivity with knowledge checks and other interactive components. The live day will also be interactive and will include various activities to reinforce the online learning. And then we're also creating job aids, and those will be shared with learners as a part of their training. Part of our focus on accessibility will be to have all of the content translated into 2 languages in addition to being available in English. We recognize that many direct care workers are new Mainers and that English may not be their first or primary spoken language. So we will be working to identify the most commonly spoken languages by direct care workers. Our team is also using a project management software that will allow us to upload content for review and to easily collaborate with stakeholders. And finally, we are developing survey questions for both direct care workers and service recipients so that we can ensure that the training meets everyone's needs and that it's beneficial to staff and members. Next slide, please. As we research and interview providers and service recipients, we hope to learn what challenges direct care workers are facing, and we also hope to learn what members are looking for from staff and ensuring that their supports are person-centered. Next slide, please. We will be working with subject matter experts as we develop the content, and we're also interested in feedback from direct care workers and members. So as I previously mentioned, we are currently working on creating some surveys for both staff and service recipients so that we can gather feedback and better understand current challenges. So we're going to be working with ODES to determine the best way to distribute this survey. But if there are individuals at your agency or program who would be interested in providing input or completing a survey, you can definitely have people contact me. My email and phone number are listed there on the slide. So feel free to contact me with any questions or any input that you want to provide. And thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Heather, for sharing this project's incredibly important and needed work in innovation and professional development. Next slide, please. As noted earlier, if you have any questions, please share them through the Q&A box, and Betsy will lead our group of panelists in responding to the questions. Betsy, welcome back to the mic, and I think we're ready to get started.
Thank you, Doug. I saw that there were a few questions, but it looks like they've been answered. There is one question that came through just a couple of minutes ago. What is the general timeline for the projects described this afternoon, start and completion? So the end date for all of the projects to be wrapping up is December 2024. And these are projects that are just starting, have been starting and rolling out in this last month, really. So we're talking here at the front end of the work of these projects that are going to be happening over the next year and a half. Other questions people have for any of the presenters or us?
Should we give just maybe one more minute, see if anybody has another question?
Yeah, we can hold for just a sec. All right. I think we're good to go. Doug, I just want to take a minute and first of all, thank all of our presenters today. You know, I said to you when we first met about your projects early on, I had the opportunity and pleasure of reading all of the projects, first of all, and then talking with you individually as you started working with NDI and putting together your project to actually get it started. And I can just see the care and thought and real passion for the work that you've proposed and that you're going to be doing. And so I'm really looking forward to the work over the next year and a half to see all of the outcomes of these great projects. So I want to thank all of our presenters. And also I want to thank NDI again and Doug and Rebecca for joining us today and helping us do this work, working alongside us. And I think we have a few subject matter experts from NDI who are also on the call, really already seeing the benefits of the work that they're doing with many of the projects that are included here. And then lastly, our own ODES team, Craig Donnan is here, and Miranda, who you met earlier, and then Nikki and so many others who are really helping us to support this work going forward. So it really is exciting, and looking forward to seeing all of the work over the next year and a half. Thanks again.
Thank you, Betsy. And, you know, it's been so good working with all of the projects, all 19 of them, including the 6 that shared today. And we've enjoyed being part of the vision of your department in looking at the innovations in service delivery. This has been a great afternoon. It's always stimulating to hear of opportunities for growth in areas where we're not always quite sure where to go. And it's exciting to know that we'll have a bird's eye view of how some of these ideas might work. Now to take us out, I'm very happy to turn this back over to you, Miranda.
Thank you, Doug. And thank you, Betsy, for all of your kind words. So to take us out, for more information, we have an ODES Innovation email inbox. That address has been put in the chat, but it is also available on our webpage. So if you're unable to copy, paste, or write it down very quickly, you can go right to that Pilot Grants webpage. And not only will you find that email link, you'll find some information on the session, the webinar we held in June on some of the innovation grants, and you'll find the registration link for our August sessions. We hope that you come back for information on the community inclusion pilot programs. And we also have the link here for our partners with National Disability Institute. So thank you very much for attending. We appreciate all of the questions. Please feel free to reach out at that email box at any time.
Great.
Thank you to all the
Thanks,
presenters
everyone.
that are still on the line.
Have a good rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. I am going to end.